Picture this. It is 3 in the morning over Ukraine. The sky is dark and then the sirens start. Wave after wave of Russian Shahed kamikaze drones cross into Ukrainian airspace. Dozens, then hundreds. The radar lights up. The operators scramble. But tonight something is different. Somewhere in the darkness, a tiny machine the size of a large bird quietly lifts off. No roar of an engine, no heat signature, just a whisper of electric motors, and then it hunts. It finds its target at 300 kilometers per hour and it costs $2,000. That machine could be the single most disruptive weapon to hit the Ukraine war in years, and it was built in Kyiv with Japanese money. Today we are diving into a story that is genuinely reshaping the rules of modern warfare. A Japanese drone company has made history by becoming the first Asian firm to directly invest in Ukraine's defense sector. And the weapon at the center of this alliance is not a fighter jet, not a tank, not a hypersonic missile. It is a lightweight interceptor drone that a single worker can assemble in half a day. Let us start with the moment that changed things. March 31st, 2026, a press conference in Kharkiv. On the stage, the founder and chief executive officer of one of Japan's leading drone technology companies, listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Beside him, the chief executive officer of Amazing Drones, a Kharkiv-based defense startup that grew out of a 3-year-old volunteer initiative, assembling first-person view drones for soldiers at the front. 2 men, 2 countries, one shared obsession: stop the Shaheds. According to local media reports, the Japanese founder was direct and unambiguous. Every day in Ukraine, he said, there are multiple drone and missile attacks 3 or 4 times a day, even at night. Initially, air defense relied on expensive missiles. A Shahed drone may cost around $30,000 to $40,000, while a missile can cost $1 to $2 million, but interceptor drones can cost as little as $2,000 to $3,000. This changes everything. First, understand what brought him to Ukraine in the first place. According to local reports, he first traveled to Ukraine in September 2025, ignoring his own government's official travel warnings to do so. He visited over 100 Ukrainian defense tech companies over the following months, using his personal contacts and professional networking platforms. He was not looking for a flashy product. He was looking for a solution to what he saw as a global threat. Because here is what he understood before most Western governments did. The asymmetry between cheap attack drones and expensive air defense missiles is not just Ukraine's problem. It is a problem that any country facing drone warfare will eventually have to confront. Today, the Shaheds are attacking Kyiv. Tomorrow, they could fly to Tokyo. Japan is an island nation. It faces threats from Russia in the north, from North Korea to the west, and from an increasingly assertive China across the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. Japan's defense budget for fiscal year 2026 is the largest in the country's post-war history, approximately 9 trillion yen, or roughly $58 billion. And yet, Tokyo's military planners, like everyone else, have been asking the same uncomfortable question. What do you do when your adversary floods the sky with drones that cost almost nothing and your missiles cost millions to shoot them down? Amazing Drones had the answer, or at least the beginning of one. The company started, as so many Ukrainian defense firms have, from almost nothing. A small team of volunteers assembling 10 first-person view drones for friends on the front line. 3 years later, that volunteer group had become a professional team of engineers and veterans building one of the most technologically advanced interceptor drone platforms in active combat conditions. Their flagship product before the Japanese deal was a system called Skyrider, a high-speed interceptor built to hunt and kill Shaheds in midair. The Japanese founder saw it at a defense exhibition and was the only person from Asia in the room. Now let us talk about the weapon itself, because the new interceptor drone being built together is genuinely remarkable. According to verified technical specs published by local Ukrainian media and corroborated by defense analysts, this interceptor drone can reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour. The Shahed 136, Russia's most commonly used kamikaze drone, travels at approximately 185 to 200 kilometers per hour. The new interceptor does not just catch it, it outruns it by a significant margin. Range up to 35 kilometers. Flight endurance approximately 15 minutes, long enough to complete a full detection to interception mission cycle in a single flight. The drone uses an electric motor, which means it generates almost no heat signature and operates at extremely low noise levels. As defense analysts have noted, this makes it highly resistant to thermal detection. It is, in the truest sense of the phrase, a ghost in the sky. Combat payload up to 1 kilogram, sufficient to destroy a drone on impact. And then there is the price. According to the 2 chief executives at the press conference, a single unit will cost between $2,000 and $3,000. That figure includes a ground control station with integrated features. Compare that to a Patriot Interceptor missile, which costs between $2 and $4 million. You are talking about a cost ratio of somewhere between 1 to 600 and 1 to 1,000. The math is brutal, and it is entirely in Ukraine's favor. Let us put that into context. According to Ukrainian local media sources, Russia launched more than 6,000 kamikaze drones in March 2026 alone. On March 24th alone, the Russians launched 948 drones in a single day. A saturation attack designed specifically to overwhelm and exhaust Ukraine's air defense infrastructure. Shooting down every one of those drones with a Patriot missile would cost billions of dollars in a single month. Shooting them down with these new interceptors at $3,000 a unit, the same job costs a few $1,000,000. That is not just a cost advantage. That is a strategic revolution. Russia's entire attrition strategy rests on a single premise: exhaust Ukraine's expensive missile stockpiles faster than they can be replenished. Then, with the skies open, launch a major ground offensive. The new Interceptor and systems like it are designed specifically to collapse that premise. The expensive missiles are preserved for high-value targets such as ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and advanced aircraft. The cheap interceptors handle the drone swarms. And the more drones Russia launches, the more the economic imbalance compounds against Moscow. Now here is where this story gets even more interesting and starts to feel less like a defense story and more like a geopolitical earthquake. The investment from the Japanese company into amazing drones is estimated by sources including Ukrainian outlets at approximately $10 million. That capital will be used to hire new engineers, conduct production tests, and deliver drones to frontline units for field validation. The goal, as publicly confirmed, is to produce 1,000 Interceptor units in the first production batch, with all of them going directly to the Ukrainian armed forces. Currently, a single worker can assemble approximately 2 Interceptors per day. Scaling that capacity is a core part of the partnership. But scale is exactly what the Japanese company brings. The company is not a startup. It is a Tokyo Stock Exchange listed firm with operations in over a dozen countries, years of experience in supply chain management, quality control, and global market expansion. As reported by drone industry publications, the Japanese firm has already stated plans to expand beyond interceptors into first-person view drones, reconnaissance platforms, and unmanned surface vessels. The company has also confirmed it is in talks with Japan's own defense ministry about deploying this technology domestically. Let us be clear about what this means. This is not just a business transaction. This is Japan quietly positioning itself at the cutting edge of the new drone warfare paradigm, using Ukraine's battlefield as its proving ground. And the production strategy itself is worth examining because one of the most striking aspects of this story is where the new Interceptor is going to be manufactured. Not in Japan, not in some safe industrial zone in western Ukraine, but in Kharkiv, a city that has been under near constant Russian air bombardment since February 2022. A city that sits close enough to the Russian border that it has been struck by artillery, missiles, and drone swarms on a near daily basis. You might ask, is this insane? And the answer from Ukrainian engineers is no. It is the opposite of insane. It is the only logical approach. As the Japanese founder stated publicly, a large centralized factory in Ukraine would immediately become a high-priority Russian missile target. The solution, refined through 3 years of brutal necessity, is dispersion. Small workshops, underground facilities, dispersed assembly lines across multiple locations. If one site is hit, the others continue. The Ukrainians have already mastered this art in other sectors. They are applying it here. As the Ukrainian chief executive told reporters, the key is not the number of operators. It is the intelligence of the drone itself, its ability to operate independently without requiring a dedicated operator for every single mission. And that brings us to perhaps the most consequential ambition in this entire partnership: full autonomy. Both companies have identified the transition to fully autonomous interceptor systems as their top priority. The goal is automatic launch, target acquisition, and interception without operator intervention. The drone will take off on its own. It will find its target on its own. It will strike on its own. No human in the loop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Think about what that means against Russia's current tactics. Moscow sends hundreds of Shaheds from multiple directions throughout the night. Assigning a human operator to track and intercept every single one is logistically impossible at scale. A network of autonomous interceptors guided by artificial intelligence target detection algorithms can operate continuously, processing multiple threats simultaneously without fatigue, without fear, and without the cognitive limitations of a human controller. This is not science fiction. The architecture is already being tested in active combat. According to local reports, the interceptors are currently undergoing field testing with real-time feedback from Ukrainian military units. In the coming months, once fine-tuned, Amazing Drones plans to expand manufacturing, bring in Japanese engineering specialists, and establish a dedicated research and development center. The next phase of development will focus on improved speed, enhanced maneuverability, and greater combat payload capacity. And there is another dimension to this partnership that extends far beyond Ukraine's borders. In an interview with a Japanese news outlet in February 2026, as reported by Ukrainian media, President Zelensky made Ukraine's strategic offer to Japan explicit. Ukraine, he said, is ready to share its battle-tested naval drone and interceptor drone technologies with Japan. In exchange, Kyiv has requested air defense systems and ballistic missile defense technology. The naval dimension of this offer is enormously significant. Without a conventional navy, Ukraine managed to use naval drones to push a significant portion of Russia's Black Sea fleet away from Ukrainian coastal waters. The naval drone series sank Russian warships and changed the calculus of naval combat in a way that military planners around the world are still processing. For Japan, an island nation surrounded by potential adversaries with growing maritime power, this technology is not just interesting, it is existential. And Tokyo is responding. In March 2026, both governments began preparing an intergovernmental agreement to facilitate the transfer of defense equipment and technologies. According to Ukrainian media, that agreement is designed to accelerate joint production and localization projects for defense weapons. Japan's government is also reportedly considering the direct purchase of Ukrainian-made attack drones for its self-defense forces. A historic step for a country that has traditionally maintained some of the strictest restrictions on defense exports in the world. The Japanese founder went even further. He confirmed to Ukrainian media that his company is actively considering launching production of Ukrainian drone technologies on Japanese soil. He also outlined plans to develop sea-based drone platforms, drone carriers, and maritime radar systems designed to monitor large areas. Ukraine's ambassador to Tokyo confirmed that discussions are ongoing regarding drones, anti-drone systems, air defense, and broader industrial partnerships. This is a multi-layered strategic alliance. Ukraine is offering combat experience and battle-tested technology. Japan is offering capital, mass production capacity, and access to global markets. And together, they are building a defense technology ecosystem that has implications far beyond the trenches of eastern Ukraine. Now let us zoom out and look at the second major development that is transforming Ukraine's air defense architecture in this same period, because Japan is not operating in isolation. While Tokyo was making its move in Eastern Europe, London was quietly deploying one of its most capable air defense systems to the Ukrainian front line. On March 27, 2026, according to defense analysts and confirmed by Ukrainian media, British-made short-range air defense systems were observed in active operational service with Ukrainian mobile fire groups for the first time. The confirmation came during a visit by the Ukrainian defense minister alongside the Lithuanian defense minister to frontline air defense units. So what is this system? Let us break it down. The system is manufactured by a British defense company, the same company responsible for the Starstreak missile, which has been in Ukrainian service since the early months of the full-scale war. The new system is in essence a next-generation successor to an older system that the United Kingdom donated to Ukraine back in 2022 and 2023, but it is significantly more advanced. The new system is a modular vehicle-mounted launcher that weighs under 500 kilograms, light enough to be mounted on a standard tactical vehicle. As reported by defense analysts, the system features a stabilized turret, dual missile pods, a fully integrated electro-optical sighting head capable of both daytime and thermal imaging, and an automatic target tracking system. It can operate around the clock in any weather condition with almost no warm-up time. Its detection range exceeds 15 kilometers. Its effective engagement range surpasses 7 kilometers. Its reaction time from target detection to missile launch is under 5 seconds, thanks to automatic functionality that instantly aligns the launcher with the direction of any detected threat. It carries 4 ready-to-fire missiles, which can be either Starstreak 2 or lightweight multi-role missiles, depending on operational requirements. The lightweight multi-role missile deserves particular attention. This weapon is laser-guided, which is a critical distinction in a modern electronic warfare environment. As Ukrainian soldiers have noted in combat reports since 2022, the laser beam riding guidance means it is essentially immune to electronic jamming. Unlike infrared-guided missiles that can be confused by flares or spoofed by electronic countermeasures, this missile flies directly along a laser beam directed by the operator. The target has no way to fool it. And with a 3-kilogram warhead, it carries more than enough punch to destroy a drone or a low-flying helicopter in a single hit. The systems currently in Ukraine are part of a massive support package. According to local reports, the United Kingdom committed nearly £1.7 billion, roughly $2.3 billion, to the procurement of these systems and 5,000 lightweight multi-role missiles under a loan-backed financial framework arranged through British Export Finance. That is the British government guaranteeing the loan so Ukraine can buy the weapons now and pay later. As reported by defense analysts, Ukraine and the United Kingdom have also agreed on technology transfer for local production of both the missiles and system components within Ukraine itself. 5,000 missiles. Think about that number. 5,000 individual engagements against drone swarms, cruise missiles, and low-flying aircraft. Each one laser-guided, each one immune to jamming. That is a significant stockpile for a system that Britain is now producing at scale. And the mobility of these systems is perhaps their most operationally decisive feature. The system can be loaded onto a truck and repositioned to an entirely new location within hours. By the time Russian intelligence locates a unit through reconnaissance drones or signals intelligence, the system has already moved. It becomes one part of a constantly shifting distributed air defense network that is extraordinarily difficult to target and suppress. As confirmed by defense analysts, Ukrainian forces are deploying these systems within mobile air defense groups that operate in dispersed formations, moving constantly across the battlefield, defending infrastructure nodes, logistics corridors, and forward positions against the relentless pressure of Russian drone operations. Now step back and look at what Ukraine's air defense architecture actually looks like right now. Because the picture that has emerged is remarkable in its depth and sophistication. At the highest altitude layer, Patriot and NASAMS. These systems defend against ballistic missiles, long-range cruise missiles, and advanced aircraft. They are extremely capable and extraordinarily expensive per engagement. At medium altitude, Germany's Iris TSLM, short to medium range, radar-guided, effective against cruise missiles and aircraft operating at lower altitudes than the Patriot's optimal engagement envelope. At low altitude, this is where the new additions are transforming the equation. The British systems intercept low-flying drones, helicopters, and cruise missiles operating beneath the coverage of the higher-tier systems. And alongside the British system, drone interceptors like the Japanese Ukrainian Interceptor handle the Shahed swarms, the cheap, ubiquitous, mass-produced threat that constitutes the bulk of Russia's daily attack volume. This is exactly what military strategists call a layered air defense architecture. Every altitude, every threat category, every vector of attack now has a defense system designed specifically to meet it. And the deeper consequence of this architecture is the collapse of Russia's central strategic assumption about the air war. Japan's motivations are transparent and entirely rational. According to local reports, Tokyo has grown acutely concerned about the growing drone threat on its doorstep. Suicide drones capable of reaching Japan could potentially be deployed from Russian territory in the Far East, from North Korea, or from Chinese naval platforms in a future contingency. Japan's defense ministry is now in direct talks with the Japanese drone company about deploying interceptor technology domestically. The lessons Ukraine has learned in Blood and Fire, how to intercept mass drone attacks at low cost, are lessons Japan intends to absorb before it ever needs them. As the Japanese company announced, its expansion roadmap includes not just interceptor drones, but a full suite of unmanned systems, reconnaissance platforms, first-person view drones, and unmanned surface vessels. The sea-based platforms are particularly relevant for Japan given its geography and the nature of the threats it faces from China and North Korea's growing naval capabilities. One caveat worth noting is that both Ukraine and Japan currently face legal constraints on arms exports. Ukraine maintains an arms export ban for the duration of the active conflict. Japan only recently began liberalizing its historically strict defense export laws, and there are still significant political sensitivities around selling weapons to countries at war. These are real hurdles that the partnership will have to navigate. The Japanese founder himself acknowledged that these challenges exist, but the direction of travel is clear. Both governments are moving to create the legal and regulatory infrastructure that enables this cooperation to scale. According to local reports, the Japanese company is also planning to establish a research and development center in Ukraine, bring in Japanese technical specialists to work alongside Ukrainian engineers, and expand manufacturing capacity within months once the current field testing phase of the Interceptor is complete. And the company's global expansion ambitions extend well beyond Ukraine and Japan. The company has stated it intends to work with partners across Japan, Europe, and the United States to meet what it projects will be strong international demand for low-cost interceptor technology. That demand is not hypothetical. The conflict in the Middle East, particularly the intensive use of Iranian-made drones by various actors across the region and the massive expenditure of American THAAD interceptors in recent conflicts, has made the asymmetry problem vivid to every defense ministry in the world. In the first 16 days of that conflict, according to reports cited by Japanese media, the United States expended nearly 40% of its THAAD interceptors. If America's most advanced and expensive air defense systems struggle against a regional power with a fraction of China's capabilities, the implications for any serious future contingency involving a peer competitor are stark. The new interceptor is not the final answer. It is the beginning of an answer, and the Ukraine-Japan alliance is building that answer in a city under fire, because that is the only place where the answer can actually be tested. Here is what this all adds up to. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in the economics and the geography of modern warfare. The era of massive, expensive, complex weapon systems as the primary tool of decisive military power is not over, but it is being profoundly challenged. A Patriot battery is still indispensable against hypersonic missiles. But a swarm of Shaheds costing $30,000 each does not require a Patriot. It requires a low-cost interceptor. And the side that figures out how to produce those interceptors faster, cheaper, and smarter than the other side sends its Shaheds will win the attrition battle of the 21st century's first major drone war. Japan has arrived at that conclusion with the clarity of a nation that understands it faces the same threat on a different ocean. The United Kingdom has arrived at it through a decade of hard study of how drones changed the battlefields of Libya, Nagorno-Karabakh, and Syria before they changed Ukraine. And Ukraine arrived at it the only way it could, by surviving. What does Russia do now? The Kremlin's spring 2026 offensive plans were built on the assumption of air defense exhaustion. That assumption is collapsing. The interceptor drone layer is now real and growing. The British system is operational and mobile.